everyone timed their contracts. Everybody signed one-year deals, and everyone timed their contracts to coincide with this new CBA.
Something shocking just happened inside the WNBA. Not a trade. Not a scandal. A labor standoff that could freeze the entire league. According to ESPN journalist Ramona Shelburne, nearly 80% of WNBA players allowed their contracts to expire at the same time. Which means right now, most of the league technically has no players under contract. And as broadcaster Rich Eisen warned on live television, there's a golden goose getting more valuable, and someone's holding a knife to its throat. The arenas are booked. The schedule has been released. But the rosters? Almost empty. And the question now shaking the sport is simple. Did the WNBA Players Union just gamble with the future of the entire league? The story exploded after comments from Ramona Shelburne revealed something unusual about last season. According to her reporting, many players signed short-term deals, often just 1 year. Why? Timing. The contracts were intentionally aligned to expire right before the next collective bargaining agreement negotiation. The idea was simple. If most of the league becomes free agents at the same time, players gain leverage. But the result? A situation rarely seen in professional sports. At the same moment negotiations stalled, the league suddenly faced the possibility that the majority of its talent could be unsigned simultaneously. Labor negotiations are nothing new in sports. The NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, all have had difficult bargaining fights. But what makes this situation unique is the scale of coordination. Reports suggested players were encouraged to avoid long contracts and maintain flexibility heading into the next CBA negotiations. Union leadership, including respected veterans like Breanna Stewart, Nneka Ogwumike, Nafisa Collier, have been vocal about the need for better salaries, revenue sharing, and improved working conditions. Their argument? The WNBA's popularity has grown dramatically, so the players should benefit from that growth. But the way this strategy unfolded has now created a massive gamble.
I just spoke to basketball legend Breanna Stewart, who, along with fellow NBA player Nafisa Collier, also a CNBC changemaker.
And the timing of this standoff might be the most important part of the entire story. Because the WNBA is currently experiencing the biggest surge in attention in its history. Much of that momentum is tied to one player, Caitlin Clark. Her rookie season generated record viewership numbers, sold-out arenas, national headlines. For the first time, the league began attracting casual sports fans on a massive scale. That surge helped lead to a multi-billion-dollar media rights deal involving major networks and streaming platforms. Which means the league was entering what many believed could be a breakout era. But now, everything is suddenly uncertain. Despite the ongoing negotiations, the WNBA still released its upcoming schedule. Why? Because arenas operate on strict booking timelines. If teams don't reserve dates early, those slots can go to concerts, events, or other sports. So the league locked in the calendar, even though rosters weren't finalized. That means games like Indiana Fever vs. New York Liberty, potentially featuring Caitlin Clark, were scheduled before teams even knew which players would be under contract. In professional sports, that kind of uncertainty is extremely rare. Two brand new franchises were supposed to symbolize the WNBA's growth. Teams in Toronto and Portland. Expansion drafts normally allow new teams to build competitive rosters. But those drafts rely on league rules defined by the collective bargaining agreement. Without that agreement finalized, the expansion process slows down. Meaning two entire markets are waiting to see how the negotiations play out. For fans in those cities, it's a confusing moment. Excitement is high. But the details of how teams will actually be built are still unfolding.
Shelburne put it plainly on the Rich Eisen show.
Ramona Shelburne is joining us here from downtown Los Angeles.
At the center of this dispute is a familiar issue in sports: revenue sharing. Players argue the league's rising popularity means they deserve a larger share of league revenue. And compared with other leagues, the difference is clear. NBA players receive roughly half of basketball-related income. NFL players receive nearly half of league revenue. WNBA players want their compensation to reflect the league's growth. League owners, however, argue the financial structure of the WNBA is still evolving. The league has historically relied on investment from NBA ownership groups, which means the negotiations involve balancing growth with long-term sustainability. Another layer of this debate involves the reality of different player situations. Veteran stars often have endorsement deals, international contracts, off-season leagues. Players like Breanna Stewart or Nafisa Collier have built successful careers and global reputations. But many younger players are still fighting for roster spots. WNBA teams typically carry only 12 players per roster. That means every contract negotiation can determine whether a player continues their career or not, which makes the outcome of this negotiation incredibly important for the entire player base. When Rich Eisen described the WNBA as having a golden goose, he was referring to the sudden explosion of public interest in the league. That interest isn't just about one player. It's about a generation of stars entering the spotlight. Players like Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, represent a new wave of attention for women's basketball. The league is gaining bigger TV audiences, increased sponsorships, expanded global visibility. But moments like this can be fragile, and both sides know it.